Getting information in real time and relaying it in real time is very consequential to maintaining the deal. If there is any breakdown of communication throughout, this would risk the whole deal collapsing. And this is why our negotiators are constantly engaging with their counterparts on both ends and making sure that they have the information in real time and assessing that information, validating that information, relaying it to the other side, whether it has to do with aid going in, it has to do with displaced people movement, it has to do with troop movement on the ground, with clear skies, with the exchange of prisoners and hostages. Communication is the key word here to make sure that we maintain the momentum that has been started by the ceasefire. Obviously, there is a lot of work to be done in the exchange, as you have seen yesterday, the mediators, the release of prisoners until the early morning. This is a war zone, and therefore, on the military side of it, anything could happen at any time. Any party could consider a threat a reason to violate the parameters of the agreement, and therefore we would end up with having to go in and to find a way to resume the ceasefire. Right now, our communication channels were able to troubleshoot and to make sure that any of these incidents would not be escalated. And we have the mechanisms in place to make sure that whenever there is some kind of violation on the ground, or whatever one party sees as violation, there's an immediate channel that they can communicate through their grievances, and that would be dealt with immediately through engaging with both parties. Making sure that those who are going out of Israeli prisons are the ones who are agreed upon in the list in terms of list exchange and releases at the end. Well, we hope it's one of these glued down house of cards that you can depend at least that there are the safeguards in place to make sure that it doesn't crumble at anymore, to fall down at any moment. As I said, we are quite confident in the language of the agreement. We are quite confident in the discussions that took more than 400 days to reach this agreement. We are quite confident that the main issues on the table were addressed technically and politically beforehand, and therefore we're quite confident in the deal itself. However, implementation is mainly as a responsibility on the parties. What is happening? So, and as I said, we have a smaller room in Al Arish that's monitoring aid going in. So there is a distribution of this would risk the whole deal collapsing, and this is why our negotiators are constantly. These kinds of mediations, these kinds of deals are never easy to maintain. The situation on the ground could change very quickly, and political will and political posturing could affect the situation at any minute. Our job from the exterior is to keep the pressure on the interior of this deal through maintaining lines of communication, making sure that people on the ground see things happening and moving immediately. And we do believe that when not only the people on the ground, even the politicians, even the leaders, when they see the positive effects of this deal in popular opinion, in the realities on the ground, in bringing people back to their families, that also changes the perspective positively towards maintaining the deal. That are monitoring the implementation now. So we're talking about left shortly after the press conference. There was an issue that night. We have, of course, an incoming U.S. administration. So Envoy Witkoff, who was very instrumental in getting the deal through, will be part of these negotiations, of course, and others from the Trump administration as we go on forward. And the other teams will be discussing all the details. We want to apply as much pressure as possible from the international community to make sure that both sides go to second phase seamlessly. We don't want to see any break between phase 1 and 2. We don't want to see any breakdown of the negotiations that would lead to a resumption of hostilities. And this is why we need to work very closely with our partners in the mediation, with the parties of the conflict, and with the international community to make sure that the pressure is there, the momentum is there, and that we are paving the way to phase 2 that will hopefully mean the end of war. To continue with the call, and next morning